Korean scene, they always do those late invades, or they'll always go and look for an advantage. We have start to see some aggression in the North American LCS as well. A lot of ward placement coming out, but there's really no wards being chucked down at the moment. There's just 2 on the map.
Yeah, so at the moment there's a big clump of Fnatic members in and around that red buff area, pretty much waiting, anticipating that Wraith Camp ward that may be coming in. They're playing fairly defensively. In terms of the early game, the Gambit members definitely have a slightly stronger low level. If they have the the fear, the Dark Wind from Fiddlesticks bouncing around, it'll silence multiple members. And when you've only got one ability, how key it is to not get that out. But it's a slow passive start. 2 wards down, deep on the river for Fnatic, and just that single one up top for Gambit.
Well, the ping signaling that they are expecting to find someone. The Death Bush has had a ward placed in it, and of course Enrate is just going to chuck out the wards of his own. Of course, it doesn't look like there's going to be any late invade, so it's going to be standard setup here, as well as standard meta as well, because everybody looking like to be going for those lanes. So it doesn't seem that Fnatic want to force a switch in those lanes. They're happy to go up against Ezreal and Fiddlesticks.
And remember, this is something that reminds me when we think back to the beginning of the spring split, and how passive and slow the games are right at the beginning, because everybody just needs to find their groove, find their rhythm, get into the mindset of the best of ones, and then we'll start seeing some crazy things. This support Fiddlesticks is going to need a good couple of levels before he's really going to have a very big presence in that lane, because of course we'll see how he decides to skill. Most likely going to be going for that fear, and that cranks up to a good couple of seconds worth of crowd control.
So how do we make out this mid lane as well? Peke versus Alexich. It's an age-old battle, and really it was a battle to be who was going to be in the All-Stars as well. But Alexich on Master Yi against Peke. Peke's going to really struggle early on here.
I completely agree, and I think if Alex plays this lane correctly, it should be almost impossible for Peke to really kill him. Peke does have Ignite, so once Master Yi starts channeling and meditating to get that armor and health back, if he gets ignited and is low enough, Peke may be able to kill him. But basically, because of the cooldown and the massive regen that it gives Alex, he should never be at an insta-kill position. Whereas, if Peke takes more and more and more poke, his sustain is nowhere near the same level as that Master Yi. So I expect Alex to pull ahead the longer it goes.
Meanwhile, of course, the top lane, it is Darian versus Soaz, and that is going to be Malphite versus Elise, and Elise looking like already taking a little bit of control in this lane. You can see 2 CS to 8 already.
Yeah, that range is really going to play into her favor, and of course the fact that she's got that percentage HP magic damage, it'll just help burn through Malphite's passive and just try to keep him low. But of course the cooldowns versus mana cost, etc. We'll see how well Soaz plays it. At the moment, Darren is not risking anything. He's giving up those CS to avoid taking unnecessary damage. And you can see that Cyanide is just waiting in the wings. Even if they force Darien away, the amount of CS he may lose will be worth some time investment and some pressure.
Well, meanwhile, down that bottom lane, didn't really get a chance to talk about it too much, but the Varus and Janna combo of Yellowstar and Enrated versus Genji and Darker. Darker at the moment, obviously, been a little bit aggressive, but we've seen he's been throwing out there. Meanwhile, actually the top lane, you can see Soaz getting dived on, but you can see the junglers are back there. They're going to go straight back in. Don't think they're going to be able to catch either one. They are very close. And technically, the junglers kind of read each other's minds, though, are in the same place at the right time.
Yeah, they basically traded a couple of flashes there in terms of, jungler for jungler. Both of the top laners not burning either of their summoner spells. Soaz and Cyanide still want to play, though, and they're hanging around. We do see in the middle, there's an Ignite going down, trades back and forth, but doesn't look like anyone's going to die.
Very low here, and Peke thinking about, well, he could actually get on and finish him off, but then again, he could also have the Alpha Strike, which will get a lot of damage down. He's using those Void Spikes not to pick up any CS. He is going to get caught out again there, taken very, very low. You can see the jungler sat ready and waiting in the wings. And
crucially, there's no flash for Alexish. Peke did burn his Ignite and his flash. Look at this regen. Here comes Diamond Prox. Is he going to charge? He has.
He has going to go into it. He's going to eat 2 tower hits as well. Peke putting a lot of damage down, and you can see Cyanide just hiding off the side there. Going to go in. Can he get the flip on towards Diamond Prox? It's Alexich he's going to go for. He does go in, but Peke's not really on the same wavelength, and instead, nobody really goes for the kill.
Peke had no Ignite and not enough mana to do a full combo, so if he did leap in, he wouldn't be able to get Taste of Fear or those Void Spikes down. Instead, he was hanging back, seeing what Cyanide could do, and basically nothing came of that particular gank. At the moment, we're seeing trades back and forth, but a very, very big CS advantage in favor of Soaz in the top lane. At 5 minutes, already double the numbers, and a very early Cage's Lucky Pick picked up.
Yeah, went back for the Cage's Lucky Pick, got the Fairy Charm as well. Building up those charms. That Dark Wind continuing to go off, bouncing around on N-rated, and actually a bit of CS being picked up by Darker as well, while his AD carry goes back to buy. Double Doran's Blade actually started off for Genji this time around, so we'll see whether he goes into the effectively standard Blue Ezreal build these days, or whether he's going to go into something new.
And that build would actually do very, very well against Fnatic's composition, because Volibear at least have to chase. Yellowstar gets feared, he gets drained, he's taking a lot of damage.
Taking a hell of a lot of damage there. Darker really putting a number on him there. Genji wasn't quite on the same wavelength. I kind of feel like Edward is in a similar position there as he goes a bit aggressive and his AD carry not quite responding. So as back in that top lane, continuing to farm. We also see Darren, he went back and got himself that null magic mantle. So
that'll just be obviously trying to survive a bit of the damage that Soaz is putting down. It's a good combo, and just going back to that Blue Ezreal build, it would work very well against Kha'Zix, Volibear, and Elise. Keep them kited, keep them controlled and slowed, and give him the ability to pretty much evade them during the team fight. So we'll see how he decides to skill up and itemize. Diamondprox is coming from behind. He's put a ward down on this Tribush, and Yellowstar is a little bit alone. There is no enrated in sight, but thanks to the vision, it is meaning Yellowstar can back away safely. So he manages to avoid that one. Cyanide maybe wants to sniff around at Diamondprox.
A lot of aggression on the map. There's two junglers. They're playing a little bit of footsie around that blue area, but Peke and Alex Ich also going at it once again in that mid lane. And they are both very low on health. You can see the Tear of the Goddess was picked up by Peke as he went back. But it was a double Doran's ring picked up by Alex Ich, and he's looking to try and be a little bit aggressive there. Yellowstar trying to wind up there, but instead immediately gets silenced out. So as in that top lane again, continuing to have his farm pressure, but Darian, he's starting to catch back in there.
And that's definitely something you've actually got to remember, in terms of the CS numbers, even though they're now closing the gap and evening out, Soaz has had that KG's lucky pick for a little while already, so it's going to be earning him additional gold, additional income, so it'll slowly push him further and further ahead. In terms of team fights though, Darian is going to offer much more to his team because of that unstoppable force, so even with less farm and less gold, his CC and his initiation power is going to be much more powerful than that single target cocoon of Elise.
It's going to be the blue buff for Alex Ich, and looks like Peke going back and getting it as well. So blue buffs for both mid laners, and that's going to be important. Peke is going to start that CS farm. You can see they're both actually dead even right now. 55 CS apiece between Alex and Peke. So keeping that mid lane very, very tight. Diamondprox has been spotted, so they're not really being so sneaky as he's hoping as he tries to get towards that red. Cyanide knows that he's around there.
Cyanide's actually been really on the ball when it comes to Diamondprox's positioning. He's pretty much been able to effectively counter-gank, if I can use that term, because wherever Diamond has tried to apply pressure, Cyanide's been able to react and potentially save. He was in top lane, then he was in bottom by Tribush, now he was middle by red buff. At the moment, both teams are just playing very, very passively, and it's just going to take one misstep, one miscalculation of damage or positioning, and all of a sudden that's where the first blood will come from.
Very close, tense start, as you would expect between these two teams. Nothing really split, none of the gold's the exact same. 8.5 minutes gone to this game. Yellowstar is about to back off, so we'll see what he buys, because he has this is going to be his first trip back. I'm expecting potentially straight for a BF sword here, maybe. See what he does go with as he waits. It is directly for a BF sword, so he's going to start looking to be aggressive in that bottom lane.
Yeah, that's really going to give him a nice advantage over Genja. Genja's attack damage is sitting around 100 right now, whereas with that BF sword and Doran's Blade, Yellowstar's hitting around about 130, give or take. So if you add that attack damage plus the Eye of the Storm from Janna, which at rank 3 or so is going to be around 30 or so damage, is really going to help him hit hard. More interestingly, Genja has gone for a third Doran's Blade. Now, Genja is an AD carry that, dare I say, has been synonymous with innovating. We go back to Wriggle's Lantern when he was the first to pick up Wriggle's Lantern on his AD carries. Let's see how he goes with this, third Doran's Blade now on Israel.
Ignite being used in that mid lane. Alex Ich went aggressive on Peke and forced him back, but it's just going to be his Ignite down, just quite happily to use that. Really didn't look like he was had any chance at all of getting the kill, but just went straight for it. We do see Yellowstar pushing very aggressively in that bottom lane as well. He is on his own. Diamondprox is nearby, so we'll see, keep our eye on that bottom area. Immediately the pings go down, because remember, as soon as Darker gets that Crow Storm, gets a fear off on him, it would catch him out. Immediately has to use that hail of arrows to escape.
And that's actually something that is going to be a little bit of a counter to Fiddlesticks. If Yellowstar is on point and lands a Varus ultimate, which at the professional level is actually quite difficult to do, as many people will know how many Varus ultimates get whiffed, you can lock Fiddlesticks in place. You can pin him to the ground, and you can ensure that that Crow Storm is controlled. In the mid lane, they've caught Alex.
They have caught him out. They do manage to get the flip. It should be Peke taking first blood here. He's trying to meditate through it. Is it going to be enough? Diamond comes back in, tries to knock him. Alex finally getting away, but I think Peke may well go down from this one. And now Cyanide's in trouble, because Diamond's going to be diving in towards him. He gets the flip off. The passive, of course, from Cyanide. Is it going to be enough? Very very close. Yes, it is. And it's Fnatic that come out with 2 kills.
I cannot believe how long Alexic survived. He meditated through so much damage. The Ignite wore off. There was no flip from Volibear. He couldn't throw him over his shoulder and interrupt that ability. Nevertheless, 2 for 1. And of course, First Blood does go to Fnatic. So that gives them a small gold lead, which is definitely going to play into their favor. And we'll see how this Mana Immune Kha'Zix is going to do against the needlessly large rod of Alexic.
Well, meanwhile, Soaz and Darien also having a little tit for tat in that top lane. They're both down to half health. You can see they've had a little bit of aggression, but now in that bottom lane, Darker getting caught a little bit. Genja's going to get exhausted down the bottom. Can he get caught out? No, he's going to turn it back on towards Enrated. Tries to go aggressive, has to use the shield himself. But remember, Yellow Star with that BF sword against a triple Doran's Blade Genja. And I'll tell you what, that is a tight fight.
Very, very tight. And Yellow Star's mana was very, very low, so he couldn't get more than a full combo warp.
Top lane.
Up in the top lane, we do see a fight. There's Darien.
He's going to repel. He's not going to be able to get towards him. The Ignite's already going off on Darien, but Soaz very, very low as well. And that was simply using the ultimate to escape there for him. And Yellow Star once again in this bottom, he really is looking for blood. And all across the map now, we are keeping Panky busy.
Yeah, all of a sudden, action just explodes in every single lane. If Yellow Star had had more mana in that bottom lane, he may have been able to pick up a kill in Genja, but the sustaining the damage of those triple Dorans was able to force Enrated out of the engagement and actually let Genja trade, let's say, evenly with Yellow Star until Monsoon. Janna was able to heal them back up to full, and all of a sudden, Genja and Darker are now sitting at this decision. Do they stick in lane at low HP, or do they back off and allow some free turret damage?
Looking like they are going to keep that farm going. It is still very close between them. Alexic and Peke also back in that mid lane, and it's going to be very tight on that because see, just doing those alpha strikes, they're continuing to keep the massive farm pressure. Both champions way ahead of anyone else on the map right now. And
taking a look at CS numbers and etc., the All-Star Games winner, the best top lane in the world, 40 CS over Darien right now. And we did mention that Soaz, even though he's going to need more gold to have an impact, in terms of team fights, if Darien gets a good ultimate, that's really going to be a big deciding factor in these next coming minutes.
The blue buffs have just respawned. Everybody's backing up to get them. Soaz taking damage in that top, but it's going to be the blue buffs being picked up. So, Enrated going back. He had that feeler zone early on. We're seeing probably stack out a couple of wards. There is a pink ward already on the river of Gambit. That's probably going to be the next focus. We are coming up to the 13-minute mark. They may well try and go for Dragon right now.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out because Gambit are a team who are synonymous with Dragon control. They tend to do fairly early Dragons, and they did throughout the spring split. Their timing and their awareness of when to go is fantastic. The moment Yellow Star recalls in that bottom lane, Gambit, almost intrinsically aware of it, say, we can do this. So they've started Dragon. It looks like there's a fight up in the top lane, though, and it looks like it's action everywhere.
Yeah, there's action everywhere. It is Soaz going aggressive on towards Darien. He does sink his fangs in, but Darien is going to get a runaway. Meanwhile, down the bottom lane, they're also chasing. Cyanide wants to get that flip, but Diamond used that ultimate to back him away. Soaz just missing that. He managed to catch out, Darien missing his unstoppable force, but Alex comes in with the Alpha Strike. Now Peke's going to come around the side. Meditate coming out from Alex. He's going to be full hit points, turning back on towards Peke. Peke trying to get Darien down. He will. He's got the reset. Should be able to jump away from this one. Yes, he does.
Darien tried the short-range unstoppable force, but Soaz didn't carry on chasing, so the ultimate whip. They ended up trading 1-for-1, but the damage that Alex is putting down already is very, very high. He insta-gibbed Soaz from about 40% HP with practically that single Alpha Strike. So we're going to have to keep tabs on that because Kha'Zix, Varus, and Janna are all very squishy targets as well. And if Alex gets good Alpha Strikes in team fights, he can hit everybody.
So while they do have that Dragon, of course, they are still behind 1,000 gold here, Gambit, just because of the pressure that's being applied on towards that top lane. You see the Howling Gale coming out. It misses on Genja this time around. He's happy to stay aggressive. An interesting build definitely coming out. Berserker Greaves now as well have been stacked in there. We'll see what he builds into because the fact that he has gone for those Darian's Blades,
hey, I like it.
Doran's Blade early on, 3 of them, it's just not very good. It's not efficient, not economic to go that route. So we'll see how he develops this one. Meanwhile, Rabadon's Death Cap has been completed by Alex now.
So there's 2 trains of thoughts about that Doran's Blades. First of all, it doesn't upgrade into anything, so it's effectively wasted gold. But on the same token, when you're coming up against a Janna and a Varus who are very, very strong early game, it could be considered a little bit of a counter to that power. Because yet Soaz and Darien are trading back and forth as Cyanide is snuck up into that bush. And with the power position that Soaz is in right now, they may actually be able to dive. He's got a good amount of ability power. He's about to hit level 11 as well, get that second point into his spider form, and it does look like he's going.
He's going aggressive. Cyanide's coming down as well. I don't think they're going to quite tower dive this one. The bottom tower has gone down now. That's the first tower of the game. The Fnatic pick it up. They may well get the second one here because the pressure is being applied, and you can see Darian is backing off, so they should get 2 towers in a matter of seconds. Meanwhile, there's not a great deal else. You can see they're keeping the pressure on that bottom lane. Diamond's just about to pick up that red buff, but I don't think he's going to go aggressive. No, you can see it already. N-rated and Yellow Star are backing off.
Yeah, so we'll see how well this pans out for them. In terms of the composition, it's basically what I was saying earlier, how they're not a very strong 5-on-5 team fighting Fnatic. So with these very early towers, it's going to allow them to start controlling the tempo of the map. And we'll see if they can, decide when and where to apply that pressure, because they've got a lot of escapes, a lot of safety abilities that they can use to avoid picking or being caught out in fights. So this is what I expect from Fnatic. Slow, steady split pushing for the next 10 or 15 minutes.
Well, it was the Fnatic way of Season 1, or
Spring Split.
Spring Split, yeah.
Yep.
Well, technically Season 1, they did win Season 1. And they remember, they won Season 1 right here at DreamHack.
Good save, and that's it. It was awesome.
That's what I meant.
Back when Gragas and Alistar were still played, AP, but yes, it's a good position for Fnatic right now. They've got that 3,000 gold lead. They did not pick up Dragon, but they will be aware of the timer on that. And look at the positioning on Darker. He's trying to sit in those sort of fiddlesticks positions. Cyanide's been caught.
Cyanide's been caught out. He's going to get the knock up there, and he's going to get a 3-time strike. Should be enough, and Alex Itch comes in, cleans up there. And now, can they get on towards N-rated? He's going to have to back away. That takes Gambit 3-3 in kills.
That fear is just so powerful. It is at max rank right now. It is a 3-second fear, and you've seen it just through Cyanide right back amongst the wolves of Gambit in the mid lane. Alexic is meditating through everything Peck is putting down, but he does have a little bit of support.
Yeah, once he starts getting that ability power built up, that meditate can be very strong. No matter what you throw at him, unless you've got an interrupt, it is not going to stop him just getting those hit points straight back unless you are dealing an incredible amount of damage. The cocoon does land on Darian, but there's not really going to get followed up there. You did see Diamond. He was wondering whether he was going to try and bait him in there, but instead they are going to head down towards his bottom lane. They're going to see if they can catch out this duo pairing. Instead, they already back away.
It looks like they want to just put some wards down, potentially get some vision. They don't want to dive without being 100% sure where their opponents were. We were talking about Darren in the top lane, so he's still got that 50 CS deficit, but look at his itemization. Giant's Belt, as well as the Fiendish Codex and the Chalice of Harmony. So looking like he's building an Athenes and Holy Grail, which is quite unique. It's not something we see as maybe like a first item build on a Malphite, but against the magic damage of Elise, the Chalice is going to give you a fair amount of MR, and of course that Giant's Belt synergizes with his passive. Does he land the cocoon? He does.
He does. He's not going to follow through too much though, just quite happy to get the pressure down. See how much he can poke, I think. And I think he's realized that actually he's not doing a great deal of damage to him anymore because of that Giant's Belt, like you say, because he's starting to stack up, starting to get high. Cyanide almost caught out once again. The 3-time strike coming out from Diamond. Tries to use that audacious charge to get on him, and instead he just drops to all fours and runs away.
What I really liked from Cyanide was the instant flash. He didn't hesitate. He didn't think, maybe I can run, maybe I can get away. He just backed off immediately. So, Summoner Spell blown. It was a successful gank as far as Gambit were concerned. And of course, that initiation power of the Flash Fling is no longer available for Volibear. He's also sitting on 2 Null Magic Mantles. So, I'd like to see where those go, because it's slightly different item paths that we're seeing from actually everybody. And I guess that's because we haven't seen them for a month.
Yeah, Boost of Swiftness as well. Something we haven't seen for a long time. Of course, Boost of Swiftness counteracting the fact that normally, or I say normally, in Diamond Proxy's world, you would be taking Ghost.
So the thing about Boots of Swiftness as well, you tend to pick those up when you're dealing with a lot of slows from your opponents. And outside of the Audacious Charge slow, the Seismic Shard from Malphite, there's actually not a lot of AoE type of slows coming out from Gambit. So I think that Cyanide just wants that reliable in-fight movement speed, as opposed to the Boots of Mobility, which you see Diamond Proxy's picked up. That's get to a fight quickly and then win the fight. Whereas Cyanide's more like, let's kite, let's fight, let's prolong it, and have that guaranteed movement speed. Dragon has respawned, and you can see both teams are posturing. We'll see whether or not Fnatic feel up for a battle this time round.
Yeah, all of Gambit in place, ready and waiting. Double wards being thrown down there. A little bit of miscommunication, but it does look like They are not going to go for it because the pressure being applied in this mid lane from Fnatic is too strong, and you can see the Alpha Strike coming out. Oh, look at the damage that's doing to Yellow Star already. 1 pounce of that Alpha Strike, and it does mean they are going to back off. They're not going to go for Dragon yet, though.
No, it's interesting because everybody was positioned as though they wanted to. Fnatic have actually backed off to try. They thought they could get the tower, but the wave clear from Alex was too quick, so he was able to fend off that mid lane. And that's basically what Fnatic are signaling. We want towers and we want map control. We don't really want the head-to-head engagements. Even though they're in a stronger position, the gold lead is only 3,000, but Soaz is much more powerful than Darien in a dueling situation, and the item advantage that Yellow Star has over Genja is very, very big as well. Even though it's only 400 gold, it equates to that Bloodthirster, all of those stacks, and the making of that Zeal.
And interestingly, Darien has completed the Athenes and Holy Grail, so going for that full AP damage early on, has got that BF sword. Oh, Enrate is going to get caught out here. They're going to get 3-silent strike, gets feared straight away, but Cyanide's presence for you knocks him away there. I think he could have possibly gone for that one, but instead he chose to wisely back away. They didn't want to risk anything, of course, mainly their jungler going down just before the dragon.
Pretty much, and basically no vision. If they were to throw themselves into the river, they couldn't pick anything up. Did you see Darien forced to actually flash to safety, but he still has his ultimate. Gambit have grouped up at 5. Fnatic have dived in. He has the fight.
Chain of Corruption lands. He goes on towards Darker, but Darker does manage to get that fear down nicely on towards Yellow Star. Enrated pops out while Monsoon isn't going to be enough. Alex is getting the reset. He goes around. He gets down one, but Peke jumps on towards him. Gets the stun down, the flip back towards him. He's trying to meditate. It doesn't matter. It's a triple kill for Peke.
That was an instant cocoon from Soaz. The millisecond that meditate was being channeled by Alexij, Soaz chucked out that cocoon, stopped him in his tracks, and the rest of Fnatic just focused him down. They lost their support for 4 members of Gambit. Genja was able to pick up the only kill on Enrated, but great positioning and great focus from Fnatic allowed them to clean up that engagement. This is going to pick up the Baron for them as well. Simply put, that 2-shot barrage didn't really help a lot.
Didn't really help. It gave them vision. They knew it was being taken, but there it is. So now Fnatic in the driving seat. And of course, that gold lead that they have, 7,000, starting to stack up now. 7-4 in kills. They have the 3 outer turrets all down as well. So definitely in the stronger position here. And Gambit, they've got a bit of a problem on their hands.
That's the least the least you can say about it. You know, the massive gold deficit, the fact that Baron buff is now on them, and just how much stronger they were. The whole thing about Gambit was that they needed to get a 5v5 and pretty much stack their abilities together. Get everyone fighting in a Crowstorm. Get Alpha Strike to hit 3 or 4 members of Fnatic, and then allow Malphite and Xin Zhao to pretty much just clean up. But because they fell behind early, because they lost their laning phases in the top and the bottom lane, they simply can't face off in a 5v5 because they're too far behind.
Too far behind, and the dragon is going to get picked up for Fnatic, so that's going to extend that gold lead just that little bit further. And now the lane pressure starting to be pushed. You can see Soaz return towards that top lane. He doesn't want to let Darien get any free farm, and he's quite happy, quite confident now that he could take him down. Gets that Abyssal Scepter completed, the Haunting Guys of course on him, as well as those Sorcerer's Shoes. And Darien, while he has built that AP, he's still not that tanky. Sunfire Cape's still not quite complete, but the Sunfire Cape's not really going to help a lot against Soaz.
No, and not even in that regard. Once that Sunfire Cape is completed, we can see that Yellow Star's very close to getting his last Whisper. He's got the pickaxe and the longsword, so he'll only be a couple hundred gold away from finishing that off. And with the Bloodthirst, the Zeal, and the Lost Whisper, plus the plus 50 attack damage from Janna, that is a terrifying, terrifying Varus. And basically, even if they get to him, Yellow Star's going to have enough damage to actually cut through all of that HP and armor that Darien has.
More importantly, Peke is getting stronger and stronger. Last Whisper completed. Muramana also being picked up along with that Hex Trick. He's just about to back off and buy once again. Of course, with those 5 kills, he is a scary, scary flying bug right now. And now, it's just, of course, why not get a Vampiric Scepter along with the Giant Spell?
Yeah, just get the sustain built towards that Bloodthirster as well. It just synergizes so well with Kha'Zix's entire kit. And it's just going to allow him to prolong those fights. You know, take some poke from Alpha Strike, go into the jungle, clear out the camps, get the HP back, in addition with your Void Spikes, and then carry on pushing. Right now, Fnatic, they're in this very strong position, but they're not brave enough to push past those first towers. You'll notice that the vision wards or the sight wards have been put just a little bit into Gambit's jungle. Fnatic, even though they're so strong, they're not taking risks. They are not overextending past that river too far. They're waiting to see how Gambit reacts. And as I say that, this is now the first concise, focused effort that Fnatic are making. They've seen an opportunity in the top lane, and they've grouped up to put damage down.
Yeah, they're starting to push on towards that top turret. They have Yellowstar in there, and Raiden's just coming around the side. He's got his Oracle on as well, so he's clearing out any wards that they do have around there, and that tower is not going to belong to this world.
No, and the problem is Gambit are too afraid to engage because they'll lose the fight. And that ward that Enrated put down was basically just saying, Darker, we know you're there. We don't want to be surprised by that fiddlesticks. And, you know, if you spend time focusing the ward, we can take the tower. Cyanide, he's going to run in, he's on all fours, he flips a minion back. And now Fnatic, they're focusing this mid lane tower. In order for Gambit to get themselves back in this, they need a decisive team fight victory.
Okay, is ready to pounce as well, just off that side there. You can see using those void spikes. And the damage actually being done to Darien is quite severe from those void spikes. He hasn't built himself tanky enough, so he's not really that threat right now. And again, you can see they're just driving down these turrets. Now Titch going in, trying to use the Alpha Strike. The Cocoon does land on Genja. They get the flip on towards Darien. The tower goes down. He does get an unstoppable force, but the Monsoon just knocks them all away. Chain of Corruption lands on all the members of Gambit. But can they turn it around? You can see Diamond Trox trying to dive in there. Peke's getting focused down. He jumps in, gets the reset. He's in the Crow Storm, gets one down. Cyanide gets the second, gets the third, gets the fourth, jumps around. It's another triple kill for Peke and the ace, and that will be the inhibitor.
The shields and the barriers saving Yellowstar is the reason they was able to win that fight. Alex dove onto him and was so close to killing off Yellowstar, but there were so many shields and protection coming out. They were able to keep him alive. Fnatic get the inhibitor. There's enough time on. They can finish this game out. They're on the next turret.
The 20-second death timers are there. It should well be enough to finish off the game. You can see they're going to take the second Nexus turret down. This could well be Fnatic, the winners of the spring split, taking home victory against Gambit Gaming in the very first game of the LCS summer split. And there it is. Fnatic are the winners.
And ladies and gentlemen, what convincing fashion. Decisively winning in that top and that bottom lane.